Hi gang, it's Kiki. So today is November 30th, 2020, and it's also 2 years since I met the one and the only Greta Van Fleet. The greatest thing to happen to me. So I put a questions box up on my story yesterday where I asked you guys to go full reign on your questions with my Make-A-Wish with Greta Van Fleet. So I have all your questions here and I'm gonna answer them for you in a fun way, and I think this would be really fun. So let's get going. The first question I got on the questions box was, were you nervous? Yeah. Yeah, I was really nervous. I had a moment going up the stairs where things started to get foggy and starry, and I had to grab the railing in front of me, and the woman leading me upstairs to go meet them turned around, was like, "You okay?" And I was like, "Yup, couldn't be better." What did you guys do? Did you sit and talk? Did they play you music? We were in a side room. I met them the same exact night that Kendall, or Canada Greta Van Fleet, as you would know her, and you can see in her pictures that she's in this cool little side room. That's the same exact room that I met them in, except that I met them before the show. Kendall met them after. We honestly just stood around and talked to each other for a little bit. I was, with them for a decent amount of time. And then they signed my shirt. We took some awesome pictures. It was a lot of fun. What little movements or facial reactions did you pick up on? This is a nice question. Well, for one, I would say Sammy. They all kind of touch their face a lot, whether it's this or they're rubbing their nose, or they all kind of touch their face a lot. That was one thing. They're all very smiley. Every time I would try to make eye contact with them, they were always making eye contact with me back. And, Josh always had a smile on his face, and, they were always just so, smiley and kind. And they all just kind of joke around with each other too, because they're bros. How beautiful was Sammy? Oh darling, he was splendid. They were all splendid. Oh my gosh, I couldn't get through this without saying a few words about how cute they are. They're all very handsome. It was a little overwhelming to see that they were a lot more attractive in person. Was it awkward at first? This is a good question, because it's a little bit complicated of an answer. The thing about a Make-A-Wish is that it's confidential, the diagnosis. It can't be Greta Van Fleet asks, "Oh, what does she have? What is she sick with?" When I first walked in, they didn't know what to expect, because again, this was their first Make-A-Wish, so I don't really think they knew what to expect. I don't know if they were just nervous in general, it seems like they were excited, but once we all got hugs in and we started talking, it was great. We all had a really fun time. How long did it last? So it was probably about 15-20 minutes. The fun continued during the show too, because I was constantly getting pointed out and waved to, and it was so nice. They were so nice. This was a very popular question. How tall are they? I think we need the picture for reference again. If you can see my little nugget self, I'm 5'1", okay? So that just gives you this is a reference, I'm 5'1". Danny's crouching down in this too. So I would say if anybody's 6 feet tall in this group, it's this guy right here, Danny man. Danny, Danimal, Bam Bam, he's at least 6 feet tall, I would assume. Sammy, again, also crouching a little bit. I think Sammy is around the same, probably a few inches shorter than Danny. 5'10", 5'11", Maybe something like that. That's my guess. These are all just assumptions here. These are not, I did not ask them how tall they are. And then the twinsies, because I know so many people were asking about the twinsies. I think Jake's a little taller. Josh is definitely the bean. Josh is definitely, but his fro, his do makes it, his do makes him look taller than he actually is. And you have to remember that Jake wears his Chelseas, like, a lot. So those make him taller too. So I would say the twins are around 5'6", 5'7". What specifically is your fondest memory from that experience? Honestly, I think the pictures were one of the funnest moments because it just felt like we were all so comfortable right away taking those pictures together. My whole family was allowed back there. My whole family was allowed in. So my mom, my stepdad, my brother who has autism, and my little sister who had a kidney transplant when she was 2. All 5 of us were allowed upstairs to say hello. And they were so sweet to all of us. They were so kind to everybody. So my mom at one point asked Sammy, Josh, and Danny if this was their first Make-A-Wish, to which Josh responded yes, and then Danny looked at me and said basically, this is as important to us as it is to you. We don't want you to ever forget this because we won't for sure. And it was just like a really raw and authentic and beautiful moment, you know? He told me to never forget it because they wouldn't. And to hear that, like, my story would impact them that hard too, like, it was beautiful. Were their hands soft? Well, I felt Josh's hands at the Philly barricade as well, so I mean, yeah. I did not feel all of their hands. What was Greta's reaction when you walked in, and what was your reaction right when you saw them? It was funny. The door was shut when I walked across the balcony, and as I got closer and closer, I just kept getting more antsy, and eventually the door opened, and Sammy popped out his head, and he was like, "What's up?" And I was like, "What's up?" Ran over and gave him a hug, and I gave Jake a hug, and Josh and Danny. Was there anything surprising about them in person that you didn't notice in videos or before? I think the one thing that really stood out to me when I met them, or at least when I walked out of the room after, was just how kind they were. Yes, it was a Make-A-Wish, but these guys could have easily walked in, said hello, signed my shirt, taken a picture, and left, and been done with it. You know, I applaud them and thank them for giving me that time to, you know, show them how much they mean to me. And it just seemed like they wanted to hang out with me. So it was a really nice feeling. Rate them least to most awkward. Okay, this is gonna be fun. I would say Sammy's the least awkward. And I would say that on behalf of my experience with him and on behalf of other people's experiences that I've heard with him. He's just so upfront and such a cool person, and he's an Aries, so he's just like fire. Whereas the other 3 were definitely a little more quiet to begin with. I would definitely say next on that scale from least to most was probably Danny. Danny was very cheeky, very smiley. But, you know, when he wanted to say something, he said it. And he made sure that I knew it and I felt it and I listened to him. And then the twins. Oh, the twins. Josh was a little mousy at first. I think what's interesting as a fellow Taurus is that many Taurus come off very reserved at first, and I definitely saw it with these 2. Josh and Jake were very reserved to begin with, and Jake, honestly, up until the pictures, was still very closed off to me, at least as it felt. He had connected a lot more with my stepfather during this meet and greet. So I would say because Jake just went from 0 to 100, he's the most awkward. Like, Jake is probably the most awkward just because he went from 0 to 100, but maybe I just haven't seen the crackhead side of Josh enough. So yeah, I think it goes Sammy, Danny, Josh, Jake as least to most awkward. What did y'all say to each other? I know, you guys are all wondering what I talked about and what they said to me. What was funny about it was as soon as I got in there, I was so nervous. I didn't even think to talk about my diagnosis. I didn't even think to talk about having cystic fibrosis and how they've helped me throughout that. All I started talking about as soon as I got in there was how I discovered them, my road to meeting them, and what I hope for the future for them, you know? I remember distinctively looking at Josh and Danny and Sam and just saying, I remember walking out of the House of Blues in Boston in 2018 and saying they will never play there again because they are just too good for it. It was kind of a love fest all around. Everybody was just saying such nice things to each other back and forth. And, you know, I told them mostly my story, and they were, you know, listened and they reciprocated their thoughts, and that was very kind of them. And, you know, that was really the basis of what we talked about that day. Which member greeted you first? Sammy. Sammy, baby. Did you want, and this is in all caps too, did you want to kiss them like the whole time you were there? Yeah. Who struck you the most when you met them? Who? I would probably, they all struck me in their own individual ways. Like, they all struck me for being so kind and loving. I think Josh really struck me for being his flirtatious self once he really felt the atmosphere of the room. The love in that room was just what struck me the most. How did you feel? I felt on top of the world, to be honest with you. I had been so nervous walking up those stairs, and to finally start talking to them, see their smiles on their faces, I was elated. Did you have any idea how much they would change your life when you met them? What's crazy about this is that I thought they changed my life so much before I met them. And they have changed my life more even after I've met them. Because even after I have met them, I have found so many of you. And even after I've met them, I have made so many friends and created a new family out of music lovers and Greta Van Fleet lovers, and that's not repayable, you know? Tell us all about you and Josh. Everybody knows that I'm a Josh girl. Everybody knows that I've had the biggest crush on this man forever. Yes, I was completely smitten when I walked in that door. He is adorable. He's adorable. He's just, I can't even put into words how much that guy means to me, to be honest with you. Being able to like actually hug him was like the coolest thing ever. Do they breath smell like heaven or like shit? Their hygiene is good. Their hygiene is good. They smell good. They smell good. I'll get to more of it later. As a Josh girl, did you feel the illusion of something happening between you two? Okay, way to roast me in a question. And it literally took me like a year to get over it. Josh was a very affectionate person, very flirtatious. And in those instances, yeah, it's kind of hard to like be like, is this real life? Yeah. How did you convey to them the amount of love you had for them? I honestly just was authentic and told the truth and my thoughts and my opinions, and I told them, you know, that I know they're going to take over the world. They're going to take this world by storm, and I said it to them, and I just told the truth, honestly. I was just honest. What did you talk about with Josh, and how did you retain your ability to talk or think? Well, I talked to all of them. It wasn't like I singled out anybody and talked to them alone, one-on-one or anything. I talked to all of them as a group, but Jake just sort of disappeared over into the doorway with my stepfather, so that's why I didn't get as much time as Jake. How did I retain my ability to talk or think? I have no idea. I just kept rambling. I just kept going and going and going. Who did you talk to the most? Definitely Sammy and Josh and Danny. And Jake was over with my stepdad. When did it really set in for you that this was actually happening? I feel like there was like layers to that, because when I found out it was happening, like when we got the call that the Make-A-Wish was being approved, this was probably right when I started school, my freshman year of college, and I was about to leave my house for a play rehearsal, and my mom stopped me on the way out the door and was like, I have to talk to you about something, and I thought I was in trouble. I thought I was in trouble. She told me that I was meeting Greta Van Fleet, and I literally like just stopped. I was like, oh my God. When it actually like came to the day, I really think I was like chill with like that undertone of excitement up until it actually happened. And then I got in the limo on the way to the venue, and I just like started like totally geeking out. I had to pee so bad. That whole day, it definitely like kicked in for sure. What were they like? Most shy, most outgoing, talkative? Again, I think none of them were really shy, just there was more of a reservation piece to it. Sammy was definitely the one that like was the most talkative and like kept like pointing out things that I would say. I remember telling Sammy about the town that I grew up in, which is a really quaint sailing town. It's one of the oldest towns in America. And Sam was like, that place sounds so sick. Like, talkative was easily me because I couldn't stop talking. They all had their moments to speak. I probably didn't hear the twins talk as much, surprisingly. Like Josh had his moments, of course, but like they were brief. Are they as flirtatious as they seem? Yes. Yes. Josh walked over to me and like totally wrapped his arms around me, and we just like started hanging off of each other, and we were totally affectionate and just like hanging out together. Who is the nicest? You can't do that to me. You can't do. They all had their moments where they were nice to me and they said something to me, and then they, you know, they dedicated the song to me, and they all had their moments where they were just unbelievably kind. I can't pick a nicer one out of the four. I can't. Are they as crazy as people say? Definitely Sam is. Sam has that crackhead energy, and I felt it the moment he opened the door. And we had our moments where we were like, ah! And we had our moments where we were like, I love you. And we had our moments where we took our pictures, and, you know, so everybody, you know, was wacky and nice and loving. How did you react to finding out you were going to meet them? Like I said, I was going into a play rehearsal, and then I went into my play rehearsal and I could not stop talking about it. I told everybody. I was like, oh my God, I'm meeting Greta Van Fleet. I just got my Make-A-Wish granted. Like, it's happening. I'm going in November. It's happening. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. They give me the dates. What does Josh's voice sound like in real life? I feel like he's not as like overly articulate like he is in interviews when you just talk to him in person. He's still like that crazy wackadoo loving boy that we all adore and love. The theater-esque person inside of him, with the articulation that he does in interviews, it's not as overly powerful when you talk to him one-on-one. Who's the shyest? Probably Jake. What was Joshua's first reaction? Josh was a little nervous at first. I gave him a hug and I asked him how he was, and he was like, I'm good, how are you? And then, as I started talking and I started telling him about me, I think he warmed up to me. So it was really nice to see that unfold. Did you ask them any questions? If so, what? The one question that I asked them was what their favorite place to perform at was. And I was thinking like a specific place. And the only one that answered it, and this is when Josh went off on his whole spiel, like he does in interviews, is he was like, I really like the outside venues, I really like being able to just look out and see the nature and see outside, and it's so him too. Like, it was just so funny listening to him talk about that stuff, because it was like almost exactly what I envisioned him saying to me. If I had the chance to bring only one person with me, who would it have been? That's hard. I feel like my mom's my mom, and my mom wants to be there. But also, my stepdad loves Greta Van Fleet. And if we're talking like 2018 Kiki that didn't know Angel, didn't know M, didn't know all these people that I love and adore so much now, it would probably be one of my parents. If you ask me about the people that I know now, that's too hard of a question. I can't answer that for you. What's the age range for Make-A-Wish? So, Make-A-Wish is a nonprofit organization for children with terminal illnesses or, life-threatening illnesses. It's a children's organization, so they typically stop giving people wishes at the age of 18. When I was 16, 17, I loved The Walking Dead, and that was my initial wish, was to go down to the set of The Walking Dead and meet some people, and things just didn't end up working out the way that I wanted them to. And as I was sitting here waiting for things to happen, I came across Greta Van Fleet. And within a month and a half, these guys got back to me and they said, let's do it. So, but yes, 18 is typically when they stop granting wishes for kids with life-threatening illnesses. I'm still thankful that it happened, and I'm still extremely grateful for it every day. Last 3 questions. Did they tell you something in particular that has impacted you? Definitely Danny. Definitely Danny's spiel of, this is as important to us as it is to you, and we don't want you to ever forget this because we won't. That whole moment that Danny had with me, and just having Sam and Josh look at him and agree with it, and just like approve, like, and they were nodding, and they were like, yeah, we love this. Like, we love having you here. And it was just such a good feeling. It just, like, they wanted me to come in. Who gave the best hug? I was waiting for this question. I was waiting for it. I feel like I have been not as talkative about Jake as I have been about the other guys. So let's talk about Jake for a little bit, shall we? Jake's hugs, I will never forget. They all give really nice bear hugs. Like, they love you, but being able to hug Jake Kiska, such a good feeling. He gives the best hugs. And the moment you have all been waiting for, the question you all have been dying for me to answer. What on God's green earth do the boys of Greta Van Fleet smell like? I got this question maybe 8 times. People were like, do they use cologne? I don't think they use cologne. It was nothing like strong or overpowering, you know? They all smelled really nice, you know? Their hygiene, like I said before, their hygiene's good. You know, they all like sandalwood. We knew that. We been knew. Someone asked me if I think Josh smells like pine. I wouldn't be opposed to that. So that's the big question. That's the tell-all. What do they smell like? Men musk, essential oils, godliness, like kings. There's the answer to your question. Okay, I just checked the question box one more time. There's one more question. And that question is, who had the best reaction to meeting me? Sammy, great intro. I was so happy that he set the tone for everything. Danny, awesome. He just gave me so much love, so much kindness, so much heart. Jake called me a tough chick, and honestly, never thought I'd geek out so hard over Jake Kiska calling me a chick. But Josh, man, to have him listen to me and to have him just be as loving as he was and just have us bond so instantaneously, and then for him to even in turn around and dedicate the first song I ever listened to by them to me. All the reactions were just unbelievable. I loved it so much. It was just the best. They're the best. All right, guys, if you stuck around for all of this, thanks so much for watching. I had so much fun doing this and answering the questions and, getting in front of the camera and talking to you guys about this experience, because hands down, this was one of the best days of my life, and I'll never forget it, and nobody will ever take it away from me, and that's the best part about it. To the Greta Van Fleet boys, love you, miss you, can't wait to see you again, and can't wait to hear the new music. I am here for the long haul, baby. Let's go, rock and roll, it'll never die. I'm here. I'm so excited for the new era. Thank you guys so much for giving me this opportunity and granting me my wish. You have no idea how much you have impacted my life, how much you have changed it. From the bottom of my heart, just thank you. Thank you. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys later. I might even put this on YouTube somehow, but stay tuned. Stick around. See you guys later. Mwah.